Hi, I'm Jay Garstecki. Welcome to Operation Fishing Freedom. Today, we're going to fish with Darrell Krenz, a 37-month prisoner of war during the Korean War. Join me in the boat as we feature a true American war hero.
Military veterans protect our great nation. Pro angler Jay Garstecki made it his duty to honor our heroes. He wants to share soldier stories. The perfect place to carry out this mission? A fishing boat. Get ready to launch Operation Fishing Freedom. Brought to you by Great Clips.
Here comes the boat, Daryl.
Okay. Oh, there it is, ready.
If every person has a story to tell,
There we go.
85-year-old Darrell Krenz could fill books.
We are going to launch Operation Fishing Freedom here with Darrell Krenz.
It's going to be fun, that's for sure.
This veteran's story starts with an afternoon on open water.
I'm all bubbles inside. So that's what I told the last girl, too.
A much anticipated day of fishing. Long overdue.
About how long you been fishing?
Well, since I was probably 12. I know I used to catch a lot of panfish.
See, Wisconsin fishing guide Jay Garstecki vowed to get veterans on the water.
It's a year and a half in the making, Operation Fishing Freedom. Again, it's a dream that I've had for a long time. My father and my brother both served in the military, and it's my way of giving back and saying thank you to our U.S. military veterans for the sacrifices they've made for our freedom.
Thing is, in a boat,
I tried to get in the Marines and I was really too young then. I was only 16.
people tend to talk. Jay found the lake the perfect place to get soldiers to open up and tell their stories.
I spent 4 birthdays, some of the best years of your life, 18, 19, 21, and 22 as a POW.
Daryl's tale is one for the history books, literally. A Wisconsin kid who enlisted and found himself on the front line of the Korean War at just 18 years old.
The Korean War was not a forgotten war. I used to dream about home when I was over there a lot. Then I got home and I dream about over there. It's just opposite.
To understand is to go back to Daryl's hometown.
Okay, you see the tree here?
Yeah.
That I had a rope in it with a tire on the bottom. And
Darrell Krenz was born July 28, 1931, in Columbus, Wisconsin. He grew up an active Wisconsin kid who fished and liked to ride bikes.
I graduated from 8th grade to McFarland, but they didn't have a high school, so that's when I started riding my bike to Madison. I was most A's, absence. If it'd be raining out, I wasn't going to ride all the way 8, 10, 12 miles to school.
And eventually dreamed of joining the ranks.
When I was 16 years old, I tried to enlist in the Marines, and they found out that I wasn't old enough. But when I turned 17 in July, and I was already in January, I was over in Yokohama, Japan already.
He spent 14 months in Japan training with the 101st Airborne. He trained on rifles and became sniper certified.
We were downtown on a weekend pass, and all of a sudden the MPs come around and with loudspeakers report to your quarters. And so that's what we did.
Krenz was headed to war.
Then they said, gather everything up and put your name and address on it, because we're moving out. And we didn't even know why.
Operation Fishing Freedom, brought to you by Great Clips. Yachts Valor Foundation, and by Take a Vet Fishing.
Darrell Krenz hopes to hook a couple of fish. At 85 years old, Darrell appreciates days on the water maybe a bit more than most. See, back in 1948, Darrell enlisted. He trained for 14 months as an Army infantryman. He ended up stationed in Japan. Then, one night while out on the town, a call from superiors.
Then they said, gather everything up and put your name and address on it, because we're moving out. And we didn't even know why.
On June 25, 1950, North Korean troops crossed the 38th parallel and invaded South Korea. 2 days later, the United States joined the war. Krenz and fellow soldiers found themselves in the belly of a hot and sweaty transport ship.
We had no idea. We didn't even know we were going to Korea.
In the Korean port of Busan, the young soldiers transferred from ship to train. They headed north, still in the dark about where exactly they were headed and why.
And what did they tell you? I mean, what did they tell you you should expect when you got there?
Just didn't say nothing. We just, when we got off the boats, they said, prepare yourself for some combat. We thought we were just on a regular cruise, you know. But we found out on July 4th. That's when we first went into a little village and we got slaughtered. They always said that when they see the Americans coming, they're going to run like hell. Well, they did. They run right over us.
Krenz and the 34th Regiment engaged North Korean troops in one of the war's first major battles, Chonan.
They claim it was like 12-1 shooting at you.
In days, the North Koreans overwhelmed U.S. troops.
39 of us in platoon, and by July 20th, there was only 3 of us left. And then we run out of everything. We just gave up and took our chances.
Krenz became one of the conflict's first prisoners of war.
That's when I said goodbye to my family and said, well, that's it, you know.
What did they do with you?
Took us to a hut and took our boots off and our fatigue jacket, and then they left us there for a while with a guard on the door.
Over the first weeks, Krenz ate little food. Prisoners received small rations of mostly dirty water. They slept on dirt floors.
We're sleeping on top of each other, you know, and you had to rotate. If one guy had to roll over, everybody had to, big lines, you know, had to roll over.
In October, UN forces finally pushed north. Overnight, the North Koreans started their retreat. They forced the POWs north.
We started marching, marched day and night, no food, and they took our boots. On that death march was like 400 miles, actually.
The grisly trek would become known as the Tiger Death March. Prisoners wrestled frigid mountain conditions with no boots, no water, no food. Their struggle would get worse, much worse.
This big North Korean, that's just a, you know, probably, he was a big guy. But
a North Korean major dictated the march.
He would shoot you if you didn't like the looks of you, he'd shoot you.
POWs nicknamed him the Tiger.
He shot 1.5 men, let's say, every mile. That's what it kind of ended up to be. But out of 800 of us, there was 278 come home.
Wow.
arrest them, bang, shot, starved to death, whatever.
The prisoners would march 9 days to the Yellow River. Those who survived ended up in another hasty camp on the Chinese border. Krenz's daily routine became one of survival at the hands of a barbaric enemy.
Operation Fishing Freedom, brought to you by Great Clips, Optima Batteries, and by Recon Boats.
If you're a U.S. military veteran living in Illinois, Wisconsin, the UP of Michigan, or Minnesota, log on to takeavetfishing.org and look for an event near you.
Today, we're fishing alongside U.S. veteran Darrell Krenz, an 85-year-old from Wisconsin. Krenz survived the Korean War's brutal 9-day Tiger Death March. Krenz would spend another 2 harsh years in POW camps on the border of North Korea and China.
We wore the same fatigue pants for probably 2.5, 3 years almost. We didn't have a shower or nothing like that, you know. Food was terrible. Millet balls, maybe one every other day. And we'd eat, like in the spring, we'd eat buds off the trees even.
Daryl remembers reaching a breaking point. He snuck over a fence and into a nearby hut. He wanted to try and find food.
Then I come back over the fence and right into arms of a guard.
What happened then?
That's when he took me to the room. Beat the hell out of me with a club and took me to the other room and beat me again and then knocked me cold. And so that's when they took me outside and threw me on the death pile.
The death pile, a mound of corpses in camp. Fellow prisoners who succumbed to harsh weather, malnutrition, and disease. A pile of bodies where Korean farmers' pigs would feed on the remains.
And do you have any idea how long you were even out there in the pile?
I have no idea.
Don't know. Don't ever remember going to the pile.
No, but I survived it.
Krenz eventually woke, laying amidst partially decaying bodies.
I crawled back in and all the guys said, "Krenz is back, Krenz is back." Must have been only a short time because it was cold, you know, it was 40, 50 below zero. The coldest winter they ever had in Korea. They were brutal. North Koreans are just, they have no thing about life.
Life magazine obtained photos from Krenz's camp and widely documented atrocities there. Eventually, the Koreans transferred the POWs. Krenz would spend the next 12 months in a Chinese camp.
They gave us all the rice we wanted, but you had to go to school 12 hours a day.
The Chinese forced the prisoners to study communist propaganda. Over time, the enemy started releasing the sickest of the prisoners, a swap called the Little Switch.
And we knew then that someday we were going to get home too. Finally the day came when August the 26th, they loaded us on an old truck and going down the road, and I started noticing that, what's all the flags for? We come to almost the end of that bridge. Here's American flags. Then we knew we're going to be home. I seen this flagpole. Well, I jumped off the truck, it fell on my face. When I went over and put my arms around it. Pretty soon a lieutenant come back over there and he says, "Son," he says, "someday you'll have all the flags you want."
Krenz spent more than 3 years captive. He finally came home to Wisconsin in the fall of 1953. Like so many soldiers, post-war, Daryl found a girl.
He asked me if we could go someplace quiet to talk. So we did. And we've been talking ever since.
Even after marrying his childhood sweetheart, Krenz still dealt with the casualties of war.
When I first came home, I was in pretty much bad shape.
He used to wake up with such nightmares and pounding the walls.
Turns out, life back home would eventually take a turn. Flags would make all the difference to Daryl.
If you'd like to nominate a vet to see in a future episode, please log on to our website, operationfishingfreedom.com, click on the nominate button, and tell us a little bit about the veteran that you'd like to see in an upcoming episode.
Operation Fishing Freedom is brought to you by the Sparta Project, fishwithme.net, and by Temple Bay Lodge.
Are we gonna catch anything today? I'm getting a little tired out here, you know. I'm getting old too. And hop! What the hell's going on now? Oh, look at that. Oh,
Nice bluegill.
Hey, nice bluegill. Man, that's...
Wow, look at the size of that one. High five. Good job.
Nice day, huh?
Okay, beautiful.
Korean War veteran Darrell Krenz celebrates time on water. As well he should. Krenz spent 3 hellish years as a prisoner of war. He survived a 9-day death march at the hands of Korea's killer, nicknamed the Tiger. Even now, half a century later, Daryl's story is still worth telling. After his release, Daryl came home, got married, and got a job. Off the clock,
This is a 1937 Ford.
a hobby kept his mind busy.
So you do a lot of car shows with this?
This one I do, yes.
Daryl renovated cars, a pastime still dear to his heart. Thing is, even autos could not keep Korea out of his head.
Sometimes I didn't sleep at night. I would pound on the walls.
Daryl joined the Legion and the local veterans of foreign war posts. In here, he made friends. Fellow soldiers who shared Daryl's stories and shared his struggles.
A lot of us are down here and we can talk to each other. The general population doesn't understand what these vets in World War I, World War II, and what in Vietnam, and even Iraq and Afghanistan now, they have no clue of what some of these veterans have gone through. So we support each other.
It means a lot. You can't talk to your non-veteran friends about what you did, where you were at. They can come in to a VFW or an American Legion or veterans group and talk to people that have been there and done that, and it's a lot easier to talk to someone about things you saw and did if they had been there and done it themselves.
Even among friends, Daryl still fought ghosts. He kept thinking back to the day of release when he literally hugged the U.S. flagpole.
I went over and put my arms around it. Pretty soon a lieutenant come back over there and he says, "Son," he says, "someday you'll have all the flags you want." That's why I started the memorial.
Yep, out behind McFarland's American Legion, maybe Daryl's most profound therapy. A memorial brainstormed and built by Daryl's love of fellow soldiers and country. A permanent tribute so that we might never forget.
For him to do all that work that we did up here on the hill, to do all that work for the memorial. What else could you ask for? I mean, that's a dedicated person.
And we're trying to make this a memorial that's going to last for hundreds of years, you know. And it's just my way of giving back.
Which is exactly why Jay wanted to take Daryl fishing. It's our way of paying homage so that all might hear Daryl's story and better understand.
This is your very own Operation Fishing Freedom jersey with Darrell Krenz on the front and Krenz on the back.
Now I just got to buy a boat like this and take people fishing. Right?
On behalf of Angry Bear Custom Rods, built this custom fishing rod for you. And if you notice, it has got the Operation Fishing Freedom logo, and it says, "In appreciation of your service and sacrifice, Darrell Krenz," and it's got every branch of the service listed here. And that's for you, my friend. You're very deserving of that.
You didn't have to do it.
We don't have to, but we want to. Thank you. Thank you for your service. Thank you for all you did for our country, all you did for our freedom. I really appreciate that. Thank you so much.
I appreciate you.
You're a true American hero, sir.
I really appreciate this.
Thank you, Daryl. And thanks to all our veterans. We dedicate this show to you.
If you'd like to support veterans like Daryl, please give to your local American Legions and VFW posts. They support our veterans.